We just now connected.
So I'm gonna hand them out on this end while y'all are getting those, and we're gonna review test 1. Thursday we'll review test 2. Here's what I have to say about test 1. Some of you surprised me at how really well you did, and some of you surprised me because you struggled a little bit. Nobody did terrible, awful bad, but some of you surprised me at how you struggled. I want to make sure as we move forward that some of you may be new to my test taking, and those of you who've been in my class quite a bit, you all did well because you understand how I word my questions and how I ask these questions and kind of what I'm looking for. So any of you, if you feel like you didn't make as good a grade as what you wanted to on this test, please get with me. Please make an opportunity to sit down with me. Let's review this material before we take another test. Make sure you're going to be in good shape. This is a little different class the way I've got it fixed up. I'm counting a lot of your writing, and so far I'm still grading all of your writing stuff. I'm going to hope to get it back to you soon. But so far everybody's doing really well with their writing assignments and that. So we're good. Nobody's in danger of failing, but I want us to test strong too. So if any of you have any questions you want to review before we take another test, let me know and we'll go through some review. All right? Twice. I can't. You're hard to find. Hold it, I will.
That's 2.
Yeah, it's just 1.
Just 1.
I was going to give it back last week, but Miss Adams wasn't there in Beckley for them to review, and I didn't want to review ours without them having access to theirs. And I've been waiting for the snow to go away so we could do it. Austin. I hope not. Miss No. Where's Reed?
This one, right? We already got out. Not yet.
Mr. Wickline. No Mr. Wickline today? Oh. No Janae today. You know where Janae's at?
I may go ahead and go till next
Oh,
January.
okay.
That way I'll have.
It's Brenner. I will, yes, I'll take them back up. Leave. Cross your back.
I just wrote grade on there myself. Who's Julia? You Julia?
Charles Gibson.
Ridley.
Where she can get it.
I'm Miss 7.
Miss Burton. There she is. All right, y'all got your test?
She's handing them out now.
All right, good. When you get them, let me know. I'm going to start going over question 1. Question number 12. I went through question number 12 and misread question number 12 myself. So if some of y'all have a scribble over question number 12, know that I realized my mistake and went back and corrected it before I handed it to you, okay? Because question number 12 is the word that makes question number 12 false is ineffective. And I got in a hurry and was reading question 12 as I was answering it, and I started marking those of you who marked that false as wrong. And I realized after I got about halfway through grading them that I had made a mistake in my own grading my own test question. I had to go back and fix it. All right, here we go. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Question number 1, the protection of people from unreasonable search and seizures is found in what? C, the 4th Amendment. Good. The use of force continuum given in your notes has blank levels of force. How many? 5 levels of force. The highest level of force on the continuum is? C, deadly. Number 4, the use of force continuum provides law enforcement with blank as how much force could be used. So is it suggestions, guidelines, information? Guidelines. B, guidelines. The new training of present-day police officers regarding the use of force is based on which court case? Graham versus Connor. Good. I pounded that one home, haven't I?
Just a tad.
Just a tad. You're welcome. Test number 1, sir. According to your notes, no, I'm sorry. Number 6, based on the new training, the court must look at the situation based on the officer's perception. According to your notes, a police department can affect the use of force by influencing the culture of the department. The culture of the department. If the culture of your department says that the use of force is not an everyday occurrence, remember we kicked this ball around and around and around. If the culture of the department says that use of force is not an everyday occurrence, you're less likely to have use of force incidents. If you do that, if the culture of your department says, yeah, use of force is just part of the job, you're more likely to have use of force incidents. Number 8, providing operational strategies for officers to follow when a potential violent situation arises does what? C, reduces incidents involving the use of force. Number 9, police can improve community relations and reduce excessive force complaints by all of the above, which is swift response, transparency in complaint process, and civilian oversight. 10, the cornerstone to lowering the incidence of excessive force is
Training.
C, training. Number 11, police policy should reflect the community's expectations. True or false?
True.
Very true. Good communication skills. Number 12, good communication skills, improved training, and psychological testing of applicants are all ineffective ways to combat excessive force. False. Remember, if you've got to scribble over that, know that I made a mistake grading my own test question, but I went back and corrected it. The one that caught my attention was the one right after I graded Mr. Lee's. I graded Mr. Lee's and I went to the next test question. I went, wait a minute, somebody underlined the word ineffective. Oh no, I've been making a mistake all this way. So I went back then and started correcting the ones where I'd made the mistake. So
You didn't go back on mine.
is it still wrong? Remind me and I'll fix it.
Okay,
I may have corrected it in the score. We'll look.
there's no score on mine.
How'd I miss that? All right. I must have got in a big hurry. All right, less than lethal force is number 3 on the use of force continuum. True or false?
True.
You missed one.
Did I skip one?
Oh, sorry, false.
The use of force continuum, okay. The use of force continuum encourages officers to escalate force as resistance increases. True or false?
True.
That is very true. Number 14, less than lethal force is number 3 on the continuum. True or false? False. Do we ever use the word less than lethal on that continuum? No. So it is false. 15, based on the Graham scale, severity of the crime, level of resistance, and reasonableness of escalation are all all used to explain the use of force. True or false?
True.
True. An officer has been found to have used excessive force will only get suspended and no other punishment. True or false?
False.
False. What else are they have opportunity to have sanctions of?
Criminal suit.
Criminal suit, civil suit, and possibly fired, correct?
Mm-hmm.
17, establishing a clear and concise framework for department evaluations gives an officer a good idea of how he will be evaluated, what standards they must meet, and what behavior is prohibited. True or false?
True.
An officer who's been found to have used excessive force may face criminal charges as well as being fired from his or her job.
True.
Police officers cannot be sued in civil court over excessive force.
False.
False. According to some studies, strong supervision and more patrol officers on the streets reduce the use of force incidents. True or false?
True.
That is very true. Now, for your bonus, there are 5 levels on the use of force pyramid. Number 1 is your physical presence. Number 2 is verbal commands. Number 3 was soft techniques. Number 4 was hard techniques. Number 5 was lethal or deadly force. I gave you all credit for most of that stuff. Some of you all didn't get full credit because you had them out of order or because you left off some explanation. One of you, and I don't remember who, and it doesn't make a difference because I wouldn't tell you, but anyway, there was one example where the the person had the use of force continuum exactly right, except they had it inverted. They had deadly at the bottom and soft techniques at the top. So I gave them a bunch of points for that, but I couldn't give you a perfect score because it was inverted, right? So I gave you as many points as I could, and most people got some points out of that if you attempted it. Again, most everybody did very well. I don't have any complaints. Those of you who struggled, we need to review before these tests because we're not going to leave anybody behind. Nobody's in danger of failing at this point, but I do want us all to test strong. So if you struggle with the test, get with me, let's visit, let's talk about some test taking strategies. You know, I mean, sometimes it's very simple. I have a student who, at some point during the test, just what we discovered is that he stresses out. And at some point during the test, he needs to stand up, take a deep breath, and just stretch a minute and sit back down and finish the test. And he does that now, and he, you know, his test scores have really gone up. So it really just depends. We've got to get together and talk about test taking strategies if you need it. I'm willing to do whatever we got to do to make sure you get the information you can test with. Okay? If that means you come to my office before class and we review for the test. I did that. I got a test tomorrow night in Wednesday night's class, and I just had a student stay late and review for that test. So if you need reviewed, I'll make myself available. Let me get those up. We're ready to jump back into some notes. You're all right.
I'm not sure if we did or not.
I'll have to look, but if we do, we'll get you caught up. Anybody else? Or another other test?
You left wrong number 12.
I'll double check. All right. Somebody bring me up to speed about intelligence-led policing. Somebody give me a review of what we've done so far.
Main thing is we share our intelligence with other groups.
I'll agree with that. What else? Tell me about some of the notes we covered last week. What are some of the things we covered last week?
There are 6 steps to it, there are 4 levels.
Good. What are the 6 steps?
Planning and directing, collecting process, processing and correlation, analysis, and
Right. Now tell me about the 4 levels.
Alright, so level 1 is the highest level, intelligence. You have level 2 is tactical and strategic analysis. Level 3, which is the most common, is minimal intelligence gathering and analysis, maximum use of intelligence gathered by other means. Level 4 is no data collection or analysis or use of any other intelligence from any other entity, also known as the
Silo.
Yes.
Great. All right. Good deal. All right. I'm looking for a particular email I want to pull up and pull a couple things off of, so hold on just a second. I know it's on here. All right. As we dive on into intelligence-led policing, there's a couple of things here that I wanted to throw out to you that I found was very interesting. There is a group who printed a research study, and the group who printed this research study, the research study is called Reducing Crime Through Intelligence-Led Policing. And this study was awarded or funded by the Bureau of Justice Assistance. And these folks did studies in Phoenix, Arizona, Richmond, Virginia, San Diego, California, San Francisco, and Tampa Bay, or Tampa. And they came up with a couple of really good pieces of information here that I wanted to share with you all. First of all, I want to tell you about their background and their method. You don't have to necessarily write this down. I just want you to know about their background and their method, how they did what they did. Innovation in policing has been characterized by leaders creatively applying ideas and principles from other disciplines to policing enterprise. So their intelligence-led policing is taking ideas from other sectors of life and putting that into the criminal justice enterprise. Besides being a police leader and using police tactics and using good police administration, they also looked at management and service delivery. They also looked at management and service delivery. So, here are some of the things that they learned. First of all, they developed a protocol to collect program information, and a team visited each one of their sites to review the data and the policies on their interview. And here are some of the lessons that they learned. Number one, command commitment. Intelligence-led policing begins at the top. If you do not have command commitment from your police chief, from your sheriff, from the administration, and from the policy makers who directly impact that group, you are not going to have an intelligence-led policing department. You have to have command commitment. Turn it back one time. Now, number two, problem clarity. The first thing that they did with their problem clarity was they said a problem can't be solved unless it's accurately understood. You have to define the problem, understand the problem, make sure it's clear before you can move on. A number of departments recounted their problems, especially with communication of other departments. Some of the examples of problem clarity was, or one example that they gave, especially with gangs. They said the way to really clarify their problems that they were having when they were using their intelligence-led policing to deal with gang and gang activity is to identify the gang leaders. They said that really provided them with a clarity of gang operations once you identify the hierarchy of gang structure. The key to this clarity is access to accurate information. The key to this clarity is access to accurate information. Whether it's statistical, geographical, or behavioral. Make sense? Number three is active collaboration. Active collaboration. What does that mean? Right, with outside of their department. That's right. Absolutely. Each agency reviewed stressed that the level of success was dependent on the level of cooperation among partnering agencies. Each agency said their level of success greatly depended upon the level of cooperation from partnering agencies. They also stated that state and federal and local agencies that tended to be more cooperative also provided them with additional resources, especially when you're talking about your local and state, like the city of Richmond partnering with the FBI. You're talking about tapping into a huge resource for the city of Richmond into the FBI. You know what I'm saying? And conversely, the FBI taps into a good resource into the city of Richmond, because who knows more about the folks going on there in the city of Richmond than the officers who walk that beat every day, right? So there's information to be gained there, and both can gather something from it. The next step is effective intelligence. Effective intelligence involves the collection of critical information related to the targeted criminality. It's collection of critical information related to the targeted criminality. There's a couple things you need to know about effective intelligence. Am I moving too fast for you guys? Am I killing you? Because sometimes I get to going through this stuff and I do that. I apologize if I am. Y'all keeping up with me all right, Beckley?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there's a couple things you need to know about effective intelligence. The first thing you need to know is that effective intelligence is a constant process. It also should be verified by more than one reviewer. That intelligence is an ongoing process, and it should be verified by more than one reviewer.
You would be considered an analyst, or?
You can use that term, yes. A lot of times what you'll have is you may have somebody who gathers some data, and you may have somebody else who gathers some similar data, and they may review that and know that now that it's credible, and then send it on to an analyst. Does that make sense? You may have two collectors, one who collects information on a gang, and another person who collects some other information on the gang, and those two pieces of information kind of overlap and kind of fit together, so now they can verify that both of those are pretty accurate, and they can send them on then to the analyst. Does that make sense? But now it very well could be an analyst as well, who reviews that, who reviews that data for its verification. Effective intelligence is the most critical part of this whole thing. Without the effective intelligence, none of the rest of this works. It's all waste. I forgot what number we're on. What's our next number? 5. Step 5, intelligence sharing. Or information sharing. Your book says information sharing, so let's change it to information sharing. Because intelligence would mean that it had already been analyzed, so we're still dealing with information at this point. Information sharing. Collaboration with other departments without sharing information provides limited success. Collaboration with other departments without information sharing provides very limited success. collaboration with other law enforcement agencies without information sharing. Provides you with very limited success. In other words, what they're telling you is that when you're a law enforcement officer in your law enforcement agency, you collect all of this information, but if you don't share it with the other agencies, it doesn't do you and or them any good. Here's why. They may have a piece of information that you need, and you've probably got a piece of information that they need. And together, those two pieces of information, once you begin the information share, gives you a more complete picture of what's going on. I promise you, the intelligence-led policing folks that work in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego all share information about Bloods, Crips, Gangster Disciples, Latin Kings, because the only way you're going to get a full picture of the gang activity in that region of California is by looking at the big picture, right? The only way you're going to know what's going on with Crips as a group, as a unit, is to identify their leaders in that region and know what's going on regionally, the way they share information. Now, you know, if you're working in, and I'm sorry, I think it's San Francisco. Is that where the Brick Street Squad is San Francisco, or is it San Diego? Y'all don't know who the Brick Street Squad is? Waka Flocka?
Oh, now I've heard that.
Waka Flocka he's like the spokesman for the Brick Street Squad. Y'all never, you're getting blank looks, y'all.
Brick Squad.
It's just bricks.
Is it Brick Squad?
Well, but it might be different from the way he knows it versus what I would know.
I know very little about Waka Flocka other than that he was one of the centerpieces in our training, because in one of his videos is supposed to be in one of his rap videos is supposed to be one of the highest up Bloods there is. He makes an appearance in that video.
I know the name, but I didn't know that until you just said it.
Right, and
I thought it was just something stupid.
Yeah, I did too.
no, he's supposed to be a very active Blood member, and not only is he a very active Blood member, but also making a guest appearance in one of his rap videos is the highest ranking Blood member on the West Coast. He makes a guest appearance. Now, they don't make a big to-do out of it because they don't want everybody in the world to know. But if you are a Blood, you know who he is, and you see him in the video, and you acknowledge who he is. And if you will watch, they acknowledge who he is in the video by their behavior and the things that they do. It's very interesting. It is very interesting. So, but that's what I'm telling you. See, I had a piece of information you all didn't have. I shared that with you. Now you're able to go watch that video. Now, once you all watch that video, with your knowledge and your experience in looking at things from a different viewpoint, being a different age and knowing different things about different culture, you may bring things back to me that I didn't know about the video. You see what I'm talking about, information sharing? It's important. It's important that you share that information. Snoop is a very active Crip. Snoop Dogg. He's a very active Crip. Very active. They can tell you he's not, but he is. You know? And so what do we know about the Crips out in that part, in San Francisco, San Diego, you know, San Bernardino, that area? In other words, they have to share that information. They have to get people on the leaderboards. They have to know who's what. And for y'all, don't believe for a minute, and I know this is off track, it's off subject, but don't believe for a minute that your gang members, that your gangs, the Bloods, Crips, Gangster Disciples, Latin Kings, don't believe for a minute that all of them are thugs. Don't believe for a minute that all of them are enforcers, that all of them are monsters, that all of them are killers and drug dealers. Don't believe it. They are very well organized, and they will send the brightest and best of their young people to school. They'll send them to college to get a law degree. They'll send them to college to get an accounting degree. They'll send them to college to get a business degree, and they'll pay for that college.
So that way they'll take care of them when they're done.
Got to have somebody to count the money and launder it, right? Everybody can't sell it. So don't think for a minute that just because you see somebody flagging who happens to be wearing a suit, that he's not affiliated. Because he may very well be. They do send their folks to school. They do like educated people. They do like we call them in terrorist circles, we call them a sleeper cell. Well, they're not a sleeper cell. They're just somebody who's performing a different function for the gang. They're not all street enforcers, although those are the people we tend to only see on the TV, right? Those are the ones we see the most.
Cause the other ones don't get caught.
Oh, they will get caught.
Well,
They are capable of denying their gang affiliation, right? When I was one of the last times I worked in a reception center, little old man's there, and he's in the reception center, and he's looking at 4 or 5 years, and he's just a broke down little Italian man. He's not very tall. He's kind of broke over. On visiting day, in comes this very tall, well-built, big, strong Italian gentleman. And he comes in and he gives him the traditional Italian greeting, kiss on both sides, and pat of the hand and whatnot. And this guy's wearing a suit that costs more than I make in a year, And they sit down and they have a conversation. And the conversation lasts for about 20 or 25 minutes, and then he gets up and he gives him the traditional Italian goodbye, kiss on each side and pat on the hand or whatever they did with their hands, and he turns and leaves, and the guy comes back out. And I have to search him on the way back out because that was my job for that day, and I was searching him, and he said, you see that big Italian guy? And I said, yeah, I saw him. And he said, you don't know what he was here for? And I said, I do not want to know anything. Don't tell me nothing. I don't want to know nothing about no Italian guy. And he said, well, he flew down here from New York. And I said, well, you're going to tell me anyway. Okay. And so basically what it was this guy was, he was a made man with the mob. He had been a mob lawyer for years and years and years. Well, finally, the federal government pinched him. They put him in a situation where he was either going to have to rat on the mob or he was going to have to go to prison himself. And he went to prison. He did not rat on the mob because, they find you in the Bay. They find you in the Bay up in New York when you rat on the mob, and that's what happens. But he didn't. And so the gist of that was, he said, I have an apartment on Long Island. And he said, the whole time I've been in prison, my apartment rent has been paid. And all of my furniture is still there. And twice a day, somebody goes to my apartment and feeds my little dog and waters my plants. And I was told that I have a plane ticket waiting on me at Richmond Airport whenever I get out to fly back to New York, and that there will be a limo to pick me up at the airport in New York. So don't think for a minute that the Crips and the Bloods didn't take a lesson from the gang, from the original gangsters, and know how to treat their people, know how to put people in positions where they benefit them, and they take care of those folks. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you with all of that is, all of that being said, if we as a criminal justice agency are ever going to make a dent into that part of crime, we're going to have to start working together, because you better believe they do. They do. You can put Crips and Bloods. Used to be, there was this big thing in prison. You can't put Crips and Bloods together. You can't put Crips and Bloods together. Guess what? You can put Crips and Bloods together, because if you make the tension so hot, they will form an alliance against the man. They would rather, a Crip and a Blood would rather room together and know he's causing you some problems versus you get over on them. They have enough sense to see that. Now, there are some Crips and Bloods who just absolutely won't get along together, but most of them would rather align themselves with each other than align themselves with somebody in law enforcement. If they have to. They get along as long as they have to. Don't let them tell you that they won't. All right. Information sharing. That's my rant and rave for information sharing. Clearly defined goals is number 6, right? Did I say that right? Number 6, is that where we're at?
Yes.
Good deal. Clearly defined goals. Each agency reviewed has clearly stated goals that are easily measurable. Each one of the departments has clearly stated goals that were easily measurable. Why does making a goal measurable matter?
Because you gotta be able to reach it.
Judge your success, right. If you reach your goal, were we successful? If we were successful, how successful were we? And I know that question seems elementary, but you would not believe How many times in criminal justice do people set a goal for themselves and have no way to measure their success or failure? It's unreal. Number 7, result-oriented tactics and strategies. Result-oriented tactics and strategies. Whether it was identifying gang members, reducing property crime, addressing crime in a particular zone, whatever that situation was. Question? Okay. All right. And I don't think you're the only one. Sometimes I get to going too fast. I'm sorry. Results-oriented tactics and strategies. Result-oriented tactics and strategies. So regardless of the problem, and that's what I was saying was about the problem, whether it's identifying gang members, whether it's trying to reduce property crime, whether it's looking at a particular high crime zone or area in your department and trying to reduce the crime in that zone, whatever the problem is, the bottom line of operations is establishing long-term strategies and short-term tactics to meet those goals. Now know that that is the difference between strategies and tactics. Strategies are long-term and tactics are short-term. You with me? Strategies are long-term and tactics are short-term. That is the goal. That's the difference between those two. But you're going to establish strategies and tactics that help you meet those goals, meet those targets. Just like I told you, about setting up that big board. You set up the big board, you start identifying your gang members. And then you start identifying who they associate with. And it starts you into a spider web. And that spider web, and if you follow that spider web and you just keep following that spider web and keep gathering that intel, before long, you've got an entire board full of associates that probably are going to be connected one way or another to that gang, whether it's the Gambino family or whether it's the Bloods or whether it's the Crips or whether it's the Latin Kings. The only one of those that it becomes a little bit tricky to follow in any type, shape, form, or fashion is the LRGs. They're fairly new to this country, and they are a little unorthodox, and they're extremely violent. LRG stands for Little Rascal Gang. They are Korean, Vietnamese, and they are extremely violent. My favorite of all the gangs, and I don't know why, it just tickles me whenever I see people, and it's typically a white gang, there are not many African Americans involved, is ICP. I think that's hilarious. You know what ICP is? Anybody know? You know, because you like it. Insane Clown Posse. That one cracks me up. I don't know why, it just does.
I thought they were just a band.
They have a gang following.
Yeah, they
It's
actually
called
do.
what?
Juggalos.
Yeah,
Oh,
Juggalos.
okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they're not really I don't know why maybe y'all can help me. I don't get the feeling from them, what work I've done with those folks, I don't get the feeling that they're racist, but it tends to be mostly white dudes in that gang. Do y'all see that? Because I don't hear any racial undertones in what they do.
They're not racial in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I don't get it, and the only thing they do that's racial is that little running man with the hatchet. That makes a racist statement, but that's just their symbol of the Juggalos. But most of the time, I don't get the feeling, but for whatever reason, African Americans don't typically get involved with those Juggalos.
Post-hardcore or whatever.
I know somebody that can answer every question you wanted, but.
I
Well, he's got-
don't need to know, I don't need to know that bad, I just think it's
Okay.
interesting to have that
I've
discussion.
never understood why they're even really considered a gang.
Cause they're involved in criminal enterprise. They do as much criminal enterprise as anybody else. All right, the next one, what number are we on, 8?
Yes.
Holistic vision.
What?
Holistic vision. HOLISTIC, holistic, excuse me, I said vision, I can't read. Holistic investigations.
I'm gonna spell that one more time.
Yes. HOLISTIC, holistic investigations. Do what?
I still like the viewing, whatever.
Yeah, visions, yeah, holistic visions. Holistic investigations. This is one of the newest ideas to emerge from this project. Traditionally, criminal investigations focused on a single crime, right? As a tradition, what we do is we focus on a single crime. Here's the crime, we make the arrest, case closed, problem solved. That's what we do traditionally. Uh-oh. They found you, sir.
That's blue.
You know, you
Yeah,
can't eat.
Let 'em come.
So, on a holistic investigation, the investigation, it creates a special investigative unit. A number of agencies studied the emerging of these investigations, and some agencies combined their gang unit and their drug unit. And they don't close that unit whenever one investigation is done. They continue to look at that whole group. Because we know that gangs and drugs are kind of hand in hand, right?
So this is just the combining of two.
It's looking at more than a single crime. It's looking at a criminal lifestyle. Would that help?
Yes.
It's looking at a criminal lifestyle. In other words, if we got, I said it was Brick Street Squad, but it's just Brick Squad, you all tell me. If we're looking at Brick Squad, we're not just gonna look at the dude who's selling, $10, $20, and $30 rocks that we catch. We're gonna look at the Brick Squad as a holistic view, as a criminal lifestyle. And how do we address that to reduce that criminal element? Right? We may combine units. We may combine our gang unit and our narcotics unit. And we look at Brick Squad in a whole, as a single thing. And if you're looking at, there are a lot of jurisdictions who have a ton of property crime. So what you might do is you might integrate units from your investigative division and units from your patrol division. And they look at that property crime as a whole, not as individual crimes. You with me? Put those property crimes all together and look at it as a holistic view, not just a house on this end of town got broke into, and a house on this end of town got broke into, and a house over here got broke into. Now we're gonna try to tie them all together, and how can we solve these crimes, but two, how can we prevent future crimes, right? So you may combine certain departments within your divisions within your department, but you're looking at it as a criminal lifestyle.
And just as an example, just a drug and.
Yeah, an example would be like drug and gang unit, narcotics unit and gang unit. What number are we on now? 9. Officer accountability. This is one we talked about last night a little bit. We were talking about supervision last night, but during the class talking about supervision, we got off on talking about accountability. Because one of the things I'm big on is I'm going to empower you to do the job, but you're going to be accountable for the results that happen, right? And so officer accountability is stressed continually through this project. The most successful programs established clearly defined objectives and held their officers accountable. The most successful programs established clearly defined objectives and then held their officers accountable. This had an unforeseen effect. They empowered them, they held them accountable, they told them to get it, work on it, achieve the goal. This had an unforeseen effect on officers. The unforeseen effect was consistently the officers said their job satisfaction was higher because they were able to see the results of their efforts. Consistently, the police officers involved in that felt like their job satisfaction went up from what it was before then because they could actually see the results of what they were doing, see the results of their effort. Does that make sense? How about it, Beckley? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. And number 10. This one might be I say that about some of the others, but this one really is the catch-all, do-all. It is as important as good intelligence gathering. It is at the back end of this equation as important as the intelligence gathering. And that is continuous assessment. Because the situation is always dynamic, you must assess and change. Without assessment, programs can become stagnant. It also said that every program must use assessment to battle the law of diminishing returns. What is that? The law of diminishing returns. Somebody tell me what that is.
Just so what they can do in efforts to keep it from happening again if they.
You're on the right track. Let's dig a little deeper. Let's think a little more. But you're on the right track. You're moving the right way. Law of diminishing returns. Let me ask you this. If I gave you all a test, and that test had all trick questions in it, all of them were trick, all of them were worded, I used little sneaky words in every one of those test questions. I might trick you the first time and everybody make a bad grade, right? But whenever I get ready to give test number 2, what are y'all going to do?
We're gonna be ready.
You're going to be ready. Same thing happens in the criminal element. If we as law enforcement change what we do for a little while, all of a sudden we become really effective. But it doesn't take long. The criminal element's not stupid. They adjust their tactics, right, to what we're doing. So now we start getting diminished returns because we've been doing the same thing for a pretty good while. Now, all of a sudden, our new tactic is not effective anymore. So we get diminished returns. So therefore, we need to reevaluate what we're doing and be ready to change what we're doing again based on what information?
The one you shared with other.
Well, based on what information? Based on the changes that who's making.
The department's like,
Even bigger than that, based on the changes who are making. The criminal element. Whatever changes the criminal element are making, we got to change to make that counter move. That way we are not dealing with the law of diminished returns. Make sense? No? Yes? No? All right. So, a couple of little notes on your 10 pieces of information. Not every initiative reviewed here is applicable to every other agency. There are some instances when your agency may not be able to incorporate one of these 10 steps. That doesn't necessarily make the other 9 irrelevant, okay? Size, structure, and demand will vary across jurisdictions. Size, structure, and demand. structure and demand will vary greatly across different jurisdictions. You need to be aware of that too. Because the purpose of those 10 steps is to give you a framework from which intelligence-led policing ought to operate. A little warm in here, ain't it? Questions? Questions about today? Questions about today's notes? Yes? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Questions? Anybody else? Everybody got everything? All right. I am not going to assign you any homework again tonight. The homework assignment that I will assign you will be on Thursday after you take the test, and we'll roll on. We're going to finish up with this on Thursday. All right, this will be our fourth meeting on this subject. So we'll wrap up on Thursday with a test on this material. Excuse me. We'll wrap up Thursday and test on Tuesday. I'm sorry. We'll wrap up Thursday and test on Tuesday. And I will assign you a writing assignment on Thursday to hand in on Tuesday, and that will be the only assignment we'll have for this one. Any questions? I'm going to through y'all a few minutes early. We've covered our material a little quicker than I thought we would. That's the material I want to get to you today. Anybody got any questions? All right, thank you all. Have a good day. Be safe. I'll see you all next. Is today Tuesday? I'll see y'all Thursday.
Yep.
See you Thursday.
You said we're having a.
Have a good one.
No. Oh, yes, tomorrow evening, yes.
Okay.
I've got all the questions over in my office.
We see y'all later. See you.
See you, Brett.
Oh, no, I haven't. I forgot, but where'd she go? I've talked to her and she's ready to do that, so I think we can make that work. And but I haven't sent her a name, but I will. And I'll get it worked out. You can already talk to her. Miss Ridley, anytime you need notes, anytime you want to review notes, she can help you with that. Okay? Because she's already aware. I didn't realize I needed to respond to Miss Kirby.
For her to send her over there to student support, and she copies them and puts them in there so I can.
He missed 3 and 4.
I have sent.
Right, I got it.
I'm not even
I'll take care of that.
That'll-
Good deal.
Yeah, he's never emailed me back after that last one.
That'll put a brick in my raw after that.
You tell me what it was.
Wow.
Yes.
Because I have a habit of eating pizza a lot.
Yes.
That'll be a good trip.
I have too many.
We'll work on it.
I forgot I had them.
I thought that was in view, excuse me.
No stress.
There's too many keys.
Okay.
I keep-
Just enjoy your trip. Make sure you're safe.
Never.
And do not drink the water.
Again?
Without a doubt, don't drink the water.
I'll do anything once, if I like it, I might do it twice, but you know, if I don't like it, I ain't doing
I wanna
it.
make you get it back out.
I'm a very
was curious
simple
about
person.
that.
I learned.
I have to sit down and
You
look
about
at
like me.
what I gave you 8 or 9 points, didn't
You give me 6.
Real quick.
I?
I try.
And
Yeah, my dad's
because
supposed to be
of the
coming back
descriptions that you gave for some of those.
Come on,
Okay,
Kenny.
just not good enough example.
Well, it may have been the wrong example. I pull out.
Accurate access to info.
That's not a big.
I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
Just wondering.
I was looking, because it was such an easy question, I was looking for very specific answers.
Yeah. I understand. I'm not trying to say a better grade or anything. I'm just.
We'll look at it, we'll show you. Cool, that's you. What was our goal? Oh, here it is. Restraints, that's not one of them.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, restraints is not one of the soft techniques. Soft techniques was pepper spray, and then hard techniques, hand-to-hand wasn't one of them. It was take down electricity. So you put those in there, and I wanted to make sure, because I was looking for very specific. If you left those out,
Okay.
I could give you some more, but those two. That one's good, that one's good, that one's good. But those two kind of caused me some concern. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I got it right here, if you want to pull it up on the computer.
I had a question.
You see number 10, that's it.
Okay.
The writings that we've been sending you, when you get them in an email, do you reply to them?
Not often. Sometimes what I'll do is just print them and hand them back to
Have
you.
you gotten any of mine?
Do you
To be
have-
honest with you, I have got so many emails, I haven't sat down and I haven't
Okay.
reviewed them all. And I can't go back until I go back and look at my email, I can't
Okay.
review.
That's fine, I was just wondering for sure if I'm having this, cause I have problems with a couple other people too with my email,
Yeah,
they're not getting them.
They should have got my problem fixed, but I'll check on them, and if I don't,
Okay.
I'll send you an email. and see
Yeah,
if
let
I
me
can.
know and I'll print them out and just bring them Thursday.
All right,
So we
that'll
don't
work.
have to worry about the email.
That'll work.
See you Thursday.
Yeah, like, what we need to do is, what does your schedule look like on, Thursdays or Fridays?
I have two 9:30 classes, so that's why I'm like really not into this class. Cause on Tuesdays and Thursdays I have seminar and Spanish at the same time.
And so then 11, but could you meet with me, say at about 1 o'clock on like either a Thursday or a Friday?
Yeah, Thursday, I'm not here on Friday.
Okay, so let's plan on Thursdays before the test, you meet with me, because we'll generally test on Tuesdays. So Thursday before the test, you meet with me in the office, say about 1 o'clock, and let's just kind of review and kick it around. That way you're familiar with it, it's fresh in your mind when you come in here and take the test. All right? Because we need to test good. Your other work looks really good. Right? All we gotta do is just test good. Same thing with you. I want to see you a lot because you're too smart, you've got too much going on, and you have too much to offer, not to test good.
Yeah.
You with me?
Well, now that was my first time like
I know.
experiencing.
I know,
I'm used
and
to.
I'm not freaking out, I
No,
just
I'm
don't.
used to Miss Warner's like open-ended
Yeah,
craziness going on. over there.
my thing is, here's my thing, if you and I, if we get this right early, then you don't have to struggle. But if we let it go on too long, then you start struggling, and then we have to pull you back, and that's harder than me and you getting it right now.
I'm pulling it all back together now.
Okay.
I got my laptop back.
Well, main thing is, you are too smart of a girl to get into trouble, to get behind, to,
Trust me.
let
I
something
know
bad
where I
happen.
came from.
And
I
so,
know I ain't going back.
you have an excellent opportunity, to offer, you've got something to offer to criminal justice.
I do.
Yes, you do. You have
do.
something to offer from criminal justice, in a lot of respects.
And a lot of them don't have what I'm coming in with.
That's what I'm telling you. I mean, you have an opportunity to come into criminal justice to provide a perspective that not a lot of people have. And people who are wise will pay attention to you.
That's why I want to